If we're spending excuse me, millions of dollars on TSA at our airports, if we're spending all sorts of money on port security, it only makes sense to me that if part of what we're trying to do is protect ourselves, set aside immigration for a minute, but protect ourselves from risk out there, I think we should make sure we have a secure border.
Why are we always talking about the southern border and building a fence there? We don't talk about a northern border.
That is a legitimate issue for us to look at. It wasn't just about building a wall and securing our borders. It was also about making sure our intelligence community has the ability for counter-terrorism and the ability to go after the infrastructure they need to protect us.
That, of course, was Wisconsin Governor and GOP candidate Scott Walker talking about whether we should build a wall along our northern border with Canada to thwart illegal immigrants from coming from above rather than below. While the proposal has caused a tidal wave of rolling eyeballs across the nation, it turns out that there actually is a fair amount of illegal immigration coming through the northern border. While the countries of origin tend to be different than those entering along the southern border, and no, not too many Canadians are seeking illegal entry into our country, the problem was enough to cause U.S. Customs and Border Protection to spend $20 million last year installing a surveillance system to crack down on the practice. So, David, has Governor Walker taken a leave of his senses, or is this a good idea and something he should be pushing?
No, look, it's a political opportunity. So obviously everybody on the Republican side is going to weigh in on this. I don't know if we need a wall. Maybe we just need to fund, our law enforcement, organizations, and even the military better than we have. I'm sure we can secure our borders. As a nation, it's the United States of America. We can't secure the border.
Can I point out one tiny little problem?
One tiny thing.
Insignificant, I grant you, but tiny little problem. Virtually all of the illegal immigration that does come from the north comes by boat, either over the lakes that separate us or down the St. Lawrence waterway. Now, that would mean you'd have to build a wall up at the edges of the lakes, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't do any good, which means all of that tourism, all those people who like to go, they're going to have to go through the wall to get to hang out on Lake Michigan. I don't think that's going to work out so well.
Well, and Canada actually responded to this and talked about the importance of tourism and the importance of trade. But Bill, do you think Walker really meant build a wall, or do you think he was talking about putting more resources in making sure making sure immigration isn't?
No, I think this phrase "a wall" might be taking on sort of a metaphor is what I'm looking for. No, we need to secure our borders, and we can secure our borders, as David suggested. We don't have to build a wall. In fact, it's practically, physically impossible to build a wall. As a reporter, I've been to both the northern and the southern border, and when you go to those borders, what you realize when you're down there for a while is people go back and forth. People get in their boat in Canada and drive over to the U.S., spend the day drinking, and get in their boat and drive back.
So are you saying it's virtually impossible to build a wall on both borders?
Yeah, no, I do.
But glad you said that. We'll get to that soon.
I don't think you have to. I mean, it doesn't have to be Escape from New York.
Well, tell that to Donald Trump, the greatest wall builder of all time.
But I think Scott Walker's point is that we spend a lot of money at airports to make sure that we are maintaining integrity of our security there, and the same has to be done at the borders. I don't think he necessarily means a wall. No. I think a lot of these candidates don't necessarily mean a wall. I don't know about
that. I think
we spend
almost no money. I think Ted Cruz really means a wall.
Well, where we spend almost no money, where we secure very little, are some of major weaknesses along our border, which are the ports. Right. We spend very little. The nuclear devices could come into our border. I'm not trying to be alarmist. They could.
You're mentioning a nuclear device. That's not alarming?
Well, but listen, it wasn't only Walker who is causing some upset with regard to immigration. We've also got the Chris Christie, who had some things to say about immigrants and what we should be doing about that.
Here for a moment.
So here's what I'm going to do as president. I'm going to ask Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx, come work for the government for 3 months. Just come for 3 months to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We need to have a system that tracks you from the moment you come in, and then when your time is up, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or 12 months, however long your visa is, then we go get you and tap you on the shoulder and say, excuse me, thanks for coming, time to go.
Listen, it is true that one of the largest problems we have with illegal immigration involves those who enter the country on a legal visit but fail to leave when that visit expires.
Yes.
Is it practical to imagine that we can actually tag these people, Bill?
Don't tag it. Where's this tag? Rick says tag. It's like they're animals. You're going to shoot them in their ears. He wants to tag their visa so that we know when their visa expires where they are.
We let people into this drawer somewhere.
No, unless you're going to tattoo a barcode on their head. I don't see how it works, because that's how you track a FedEx package.
No. Here's the deal, though. People come into this country, we have no idea when their visa expires because we don't track when it expires. We have no idea where they go to, because once they come in, they're gone. We don't know where they go to.
So
and
how
we're
does
not going to
Christie's
physically
plan
locate
solve
them.
that?
I don't know, but he's not an
It's
idiot.
not even an
He's not an
original-
idiot for talking about it.
Heather, it's not even
a
a
serious
The
problem.
problem is
He's
not
an
that
idiot
he's
for
talking about. You're absolutely right. It is a real. It's our biggest problem.
It is
our
with
biggest
it.
problem.
But
It
his
is.
suggestion is silly
But you know
because you
what?
cannot tag people
But-
like FedEx.
But what's the answer?
Well, the answer is, first of all, this is not an original idea. I believe if you go back and look at YouTube, you're going to find that Newt Gingrich actually talked about this several years ago. So I don't think it worked then. It's not going to work now. And like I said, unless you have barcodes on people, and unless you're pulling them in and putting a little scanner on like the FedEx guy, it ain't going to work.
All right, well, not to be left out of the immigration discussion, we've got Governor Jeb Bush offering up his own suggestions when appearing on a New York radio show this weekend. Governor Bush proposed that a virtual fence along the southern border would be more effective than an actual fence.
The wall doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can't build a wall in rugged terrain like it exists there. What they need is more support for local law enforcement. They need the Border Patrol to be unleashed, if you will, and forward lean towards the border. The former head of the Border Patrol in that region told me that there's technologies available to create, in effect, a virtual fence that can be quite effective.
Well, guys, we don't have a lot of time, but what do you think, Rick? Does Governor Bush have a point here?
Governor Bush is the only one who's telling the truth. It's not very exciting, but he's right.
Well, what do you people think has the best solution to our immigration problem? Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Up next, the summer is over. Are we any closer to resolving the Iran deal?